Ooh, Chad, have you seen Adult Swim? Did you watch Adult Swim when you were a kid? I was only allowed to watch it when my brother was watching. Alana, how did you know we like honkers? I don't know, just a lucky guess, I guess. Yeah. We don't have that here? Ah, you probably had your own version, did you not? If you lived outside of America. Bada bing, bada boom. 3, 2, 1, boom.
There are truly only a few constants in the human experience. We all die, we all poop, and we all got scared shitless as a child because we left the TV on Cartoon Network a little bit too long, and at 10 p.m. that weird guy from Robot Chicken got on the screen and it was terrifying. Why was he so scary? Adult Swim. Love it or hate it?
Because it was unsettling, man. It's the same reason why I was scared of Courage the Cowardly Dog. Return the slab. Childhood trauma. Yep.
It has had a massive impact on American culture for the past 21 years. That's right, 21 years. This sin fest of adult animation has been rocking its way on a children's entertainment network for as long as a human being has to live to drink. But when Adult Swim debuted, adult animation wasn't like a new idea. In 1972, the X-rated film Fritz the Cat made like $90 million worldwide.
Oh yeah, dude, this is so old. I've only seen clips of this, but like, it's really raunchy.
You had The Simpsons, which first aired in 1989, and I think it's still going. I haven't checked in.
Yeah, The Simpsons is so soft compared to Fritz the Cat, though. Yeah, Simpsons is not. Yeah, Fritz the Cat is like way older. I'm pretty sure that's also how furries became like a thing in the 70s. Yeah, they definitely like birthed that.
A little bit. In 2005, South Park won the Peabody Award, which is insane, but it's proof that, you know, this wasn't new. But what sets apart Adult Swim from other channels? Well, I guess not channel.
I'll tell you a personal story. When I was a kid and we lived in New Zealand, the premiere for South Park, I don't know when it happened, but there was a premiere. And my brother told me a story that the day that premiered, because it was like a big deal, right? Back in the day, it was a really big deal and they had Comedy Central. And the day after when that premiered, everyone was freaking the fuck out in school, and teachers and adults alike all wanted to ban that game. Yeah, not game, sorry, that show. They all wanted to fucking ban it. It's premiere, you fucking ding-dongs. Why are you so hung up on it, man? It was at 10 p.m. it premiered, and it was a big deal. Super big deal. And there was so much, like, bullshit, and, like, they were saying, oh, we have to change everything, and it was, I remember my brother told me that story a long time ago, man.
Programming block. But what sets it apart isn't its notable longevity or its, you know, tendency to shock audiences. It was its ability to create its own space to showcase alternative voices and ideas under one roof. Its ability to bring outsider art to the mainstream. And its ability to, for some reason, not worry about making any money while doing the first two things. Welcome to Adult Swim.
Wait, what does this say?
To, for some reason, not worry about making any
Adult Swim cancels controversial comedy show from alt-right creator. Oof.
Money while doing the first two things. Welcome to Adult Swim, one of the most important cultural touchstones of American modern television. So before we dive into Adult Swim, and yeah, there's gonna be a lot of swimming puns in this one, we need to take a little trip into an insane world known as the 1990s. Some of you kiddos have only been alive for years that start with a 2 and a 0, so let me tell you about the 90s as an expert on the decade. Quarter-operated phone booths littered street corners, which is crazy because not only were you making literal phone calls in public in boxes, but you also had to have quarters on you all the time, which is weird to me. Pizza Hut was a sit-down restaurant, and they also had these really cool lamps that I cannot find for the life of me. I want one so goddamn bad. Games like Doom and Quake were giving sexless men with no aspirations.
Dude, some things never change, man. Some things never change, dude. Legit, not a damn thing, man.
In life, something to do while they whittled away, and cable TV had grown from a novelty to a necessity. Originally, cable TV was something for rich people to have to flex on the poors who were still using rabbit ears to get channels. But then in the 90s, cable TV became a giant industry, generating over $1 billion in ad revenue every year. And this bizarre—
and now it's complete unwatchable dog shit and nobody likes it. Yeah.
Our backdrop for prosperity and ugly culture was the perfect pressure cooker for the insanity of Adult Swim. I had to read that one off the phone because it was a really hard full sentence to say and memorize. In the early 90s, cartoons were a far cry from what we know them as today. Instead of, you know, original shows that people know and love, it was really just mainly Hanna-Barbera reruns for the most part. You know, Hanna-Barbera, the studio that was founded by the Tom and Jerry creators in the early 50s, and then they made a bunch of terribly animated shows like the Jetsons, Yogi Bear, Flintstones, like all those things.
What do you mean? I like Scooby-Doo, man! Yeah!
Fun fact, almost every Hanna-Barbera character has a collar or something around their neck in their character design because it made it easier to animate their faces by just swapping out their heads completely. That has nothing to do with the video, but now you'll never be able to unsee it. But the rise of syndicated cable made it so Sunday cartoons were becoming less and less popular over time. The kids are drinking Surge soda and eating Future ice cream. They don't got time for no goddamn wacky races. This allowed the back catalog of Hanna-Barbera cartoons to drop in price so TBS could sweep them up, and then that eventually led to the creation of Cartoon Network in 1992. And it did—
oh, I did not know that. They bought it.
Pretty well. I mean, there was not a lot of places on cable TV for kids to go and watch shit, so it was filling a vacuum. However, it had one large problem that other channels did not have to deal with, and this problem is, of course, the fact that, let me see here, children are dorks who go to bed early. Pretty
You know what's crazy? My brother grew up in the time where it was like Saturday cartoons, right? And I grew up in the era of basically being in the transition point where cartoons were like constant, right? Like all the fucking time. Like you could turn on the cable and it's just something playing. And now, now it's even worse. It's YouTube.
Consistent problem across the board for TV people. So advertisers don't want to buy ad space at like 10 p.m. on Cartoon Network because literally nobody is watching that. And when you consider what other people were doing for late night TV in the 90s, you can see the advertiser's point. TV after 10 o'clock was hyper-focused on adults. Still kind of is, honestly. Major networks aired like talk shows and infomercials, and cable networks would play like risque movies or ads for phone sex, which was a big thing in the 90s.
Oh yeah, holy shit. I saw the back end of like a fucking sex ad for like a sex phone ad on TV once when I was a kid, and I was like asking my parents what that is. They were like, no, why are you asking? Where did you see that? And I'm like, I don't know, I think I saw it on TV. I was like, what the fuck, man?
Sex, which is crazy to me. I don't think I would ever see the appeal of that. I'm just happy how far we've come in the porn industry. This is actually a fun fact.
Oh, apparently in Germany, that's really common too, because we would get German channels, and after 8 or 9 p.m., those were really, really common. Like, super common for some reason.
USA Network was wiling out with a program called USA Up All Night. It was hosted by Gilbert Gottfried, and it would just play heavily edited B-list porn exploitation movies all the time. Like, one of them was Nymphoid Barbarian in Dinosaur Hell. I'd watch that. I'd watch that right now. Even children's cable programming pioneer Nickelodeon would change their whole thing and do Nick at Night, which would be like, you know, sitcoms from times earlier. So they would get the adult appeal without being, you know, degenerates. Something that—
and people criticize this generation, like this recent one, for being gooners, but you had this shit on TV, by the way. You don't really get this kind of stuff on TV anymore, man. Oh, you little young kids are such gooners. It's like, I don't know, man. You guys are gooners, too.
You will learn Adult Swim did not take. But I've been neglecting to mention one important tidbit that even the Cartoon Network executives weren't counting on. A third of Cartoon Network's watchers were adults. Weird adults, but adults nonetheless. So you got a time slot where people aren't watching, you got some weird adults that might be floating around. What do? Well, you make a cartoon show for weird adults. In 1994, Cartoon Network made a show called Space Ghost Coast to Coast. And if you don't know what this is, get excited. There was an old Hanna-Barbera cartoon called Space Ghost that like literally everyone forgot about. And what they did was they take clips from that show and they would cut them up and edit them and voice them over to make a completely new show. Because literally Cartoon Network did not have any money for original programming. so they had to cut corners every chance they got. The original...
Oh, and they bought the Hanna-Barbera, and this was Hanna-Barbera. Oh, that makes sense, actually. That's really smart.
Show was about a space superhero that fought dinosaurs, which is the most 60s fever dream coke bender idea I've ever heard. So then they took that character and put it in a talk show setting, which, just by the premise alone, is hilarious, I think. And since Cartoon Network did not have an original content budget, they had to funnel advertising budget into the show itself. Like, they couldn't advertise Cartoon Network on other channels, they just had to put that money into Space Ghost Coast to Coast. And personally, I think it was worth it, and historically it turned out to be, but a lot of people were against the show originally. It was way before its time, with extremely well-written jokes and absurdist humor, and it also got a bunch of real-life celebrities to go on the show in a weird meta talk show kind of thing. I mean, to get the vibe of the show,
dude, that's amazing, man. Weird Al? Yeah, they interviewed Weird Al. I remember watching a clip of that.
All you have to do is see the time Conan O'Brien went on, and instead of Space Ghost interviewing him, Space Ghost just like investigated an ant for 10 minutes straight while Conan just dealt with no one talking to him.
I think this show is very bad. Okay. And should be stopped.
Oh, okay. Back when Conan O'Brien... Didn't Conan O'Brien write for The Simpsons? Hold on. Conan O'Brien Simpsons? Conan O'Brien... He's a former writer for The Simpsons. Yeah, back then when he was funny, man. Dude, he used to be funny. Now he's just cooked.
Okay. I think you're a bad person, and don't take this the wrong way.
All right. Just next level stuff. Just really next level shit. The show quickly gained a cult following, and it was showing some promise. So the executive...
I don't know, man. I mean, okay, compared to back when he was at his peak, I genuinely don't think he's that funny. Comparatively speaking, he's not that funny anymore. But yeah, sure. It's way better than that Fallon. No, I absolutely agree. Compared to, like, people now who still have a show... He's 100 times funnier, but I mean, comparatively speaking, I just think he used to be really funny. It's just relative.
Were like, okay,
yeah,
what else can we do? This is kind of working. And they were like, I don't know, let's try anime? Anime might work. In the 90s, a lot of people, no one cared about anime in the 90s, really, at all. Some people did, but they were this. So the main...
It's really not that different, man. This is a time capsule for sure, man. Chat, I'm getting to this point. I want to get glass, what is it called? Glass stands for my figurines. I have a cart of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I have 9 figurines. Does he have Gundams? I can't tell. I don't think so. I can't tell.
So the mainstream appeal of anime was not there at all. So licensing was cheap. So they were like, screw it, throw it up there. And suddenly this became a staple of the channel too during the nighttime segment, which led to the 1997 block Toonami, which you should know about. It's iconic.
Hamtaro! They had Hamtaro, I remember that.
Iconic. And it showed a lot of kids who had never had experience watching anime before things like Dragon Ball Z and Sailor Moon and Gundam Wing, all these shows that everyone loves now. So the executives all get together and talk to Mike Lazo, the creator of Space Ghost Coast to Coast, and they say, hey, listen, we're starting to fuck with the vision a little bit, okay? We think we can turn this garbage time slot into something hot and bothered with the right direction. And Mike was like, let me hop in the kitchen, let me see what I can cook up real quick.
Changed the world forever. Yeah, DBZ was so big. My brother did that. My brother watched the show and then he would make me fucking watch it with him, man. I mean, honestly, it was only annoying because there would be constant reruns. The same 3 episodes would fucking air once a day at 6 p.m. and they would play them over and over. I fucking hated that. That's the only reason that I didn't like watching it with him, because they would play the same shit over and over. No. I didn't do episodes on Friday nights, if I recall correctly. Yeah, I don't know. It just really irked me.
Of course, the ad sales team at Cartoon Network was resistant to it because they were like, you know, this is a cartoon children's network and you're selling really adult shows. How are we supposed to pitch this? And they had a good point, but Lazo, or Lazo, I don't know which one it is, but he had a year to pull this off. So, you know, who's to say he's even going to get it done? Who knows if he can pull this off?
He pulled it off.
A small group of people, headed by Lizzo, started working around the clock for a thing that would eventually become Adult Swim. None of them, mind you, with a history of animation in their background. None of them had that. What they did have was a shared vision of weird shit and the ability to work really hard for long hours. A lot of them had full-time jobs at a Cartoon Network, and they also had another full-time job, which was creating Adult Swim. And there was no, like, office.
Can I just interject with something? The reason why that all these shows are fucking crazy is because all those producers and animators are cooked as fuck. The first time I ever got cooked AF, like personally, and I sat down to watch cartoons, I was like, I finally fucking get it. I finally understand these fucking cooked shows because I'm cooked as well. Like, I get it now. I understand. These people are all fucking cooked as fuck when they make these shows.
For the Adult Swim team, so they had to do whatever they could, wherever they could. They were editing footage in broom closets and using old PCs that no one else was using because that's all they had at the time. And also, even though Cartoon Network gave Adult Swim the green light, no one at the company was really happy about it. Shows like Harvey Birdman, Attorney at Law, and C-Lab 2021, which were—
oh my god, my brother loved this show. He thought it was so funny.
Were also two Hanna-Barbera shows that, like, you know, Birdman. No one was thinking about anymore, so they gave it the old Space Ghost treatment and just kind of changed things about it and remixed it. Well, these remixes actually ended up upsetting the original creators of the show because they didn't say you could do that, and the original shows were like fun kids cartoons, and these were not at all.
Try to get work.
I mean, they sold the rights, so you're kind of fucked, to be honest. I don't know how it works, honestly. I feel like, yeah, they sold it, like, yeah, you can say you don't like it, but like, geez.
To my mother. Man, f your mother.
Alex Toth, the original creator of Birdman and C-Labs, was like, yo, stop. Please stop. Which I understand, but how can you watch this clip from C-Lab and tell me it's not worth it?
Dude, check me out. I'm like a little otter. A sexy little otter. Damn.
I quote this daily. No one knows what I'm talking about, but I am a sexy little otter. And it's not just the creators. People inside—
Isn't an otter like a term for gay men that are like short and kind of slick? Yeah, I'm pretty sure, is it not? Yeah. Yeah, it's a term for gay men. Like a twink, but hairy. Yeah, hairy twink, that was it. Yep, there we go.
The company were confused as hell as to what is going on. Executives still fully didn't understand what the appeal or even the base humor of these shows actually were. The ad teams still didn't know how to pitch these shows to advertisers because I personally wouldn't know how to do that. And once again, people were editing footage in closets. So, you know, the work-to-life balance was not great. But despite the crazy working conditions and initial confusion, the trials and tribulations were over, and Adult Swim finally debuted on September 2nd, 2001.
That's pretty close to 9/11, huh? That's kind of strong, dude. Wait! Oh my god, dude! You think that, like, people, like, kind of trauma bonded after 9/11 with Adult Swim? Do you think that, like, was a factor why it was so popular? It could be. I think it can, yeah.
Well, there's more trials and tribulations.
That was the last straw for Osama. Oh my god, chat, you can't just type that.
Coming up, but they were out of Adult Swim's control. They couldn't really do anything about it.
Oh my god, bro.
So the red carpet wasn't exactly laid out for Adult Swim's premiere, which makes sense because it aired at midnight, and people don't really care about new programming blocks. Like, looking back on it, yeah, it's Adult Swim, it's a big deal, but like, you know, CBS is like, we're running new, who gives a fuck? No one's tuning in for that. But it was a weird start, like, it was a slow roll. Like, it wasn't a, hey, here's Adult Swim completely finished, enjoy it, we're done.
Oh my god, they have Boondocks, Metalocalypse. King of the Hill! I thought King of the Hill was like a standalone. That's awesome.
Making it. It was a slow rollout. It was testing the waters of the late night audiences. On the first night at midnight, they just played the first episode of Home Movies, which is a fantastic show, but then it kind of tapered off after that. And then a few months down the line, they also soft launched a couple
Squidbillies. Dude, this is like unlocking things in my brain I forgot about. Yeah, dude, this is crazy shit.
other shows like Aqua Teen Hunger Force and other popular Adult Swim cartoons. And they did this by airing it unannounced at 4 a.m. in December of 2001. So I don't know if they don't want people to see these things, but whatever. And then finally, after a 5-month delay, Adult Swim officially premiered on a Labor Day weekend, which is crazy because people are doing shit on Labor Day weekend. No one is whatever. Despite everything I just said, Adult Swim somehow managed to grow exponentially throughout its first year. And this is in spite of the fact that all the advertising promoting Adult Swim was not showing people why they should watch it. It was to prove to people that children shouldn't. Which is a wild way to handle this. But the explicit
word of mouth traveled so fast back in the day. Like, it was crazy. Crazy shit, man.
Anti-advertising campaign actually really worked, and it kind of set the precedent for what the channel was going to be for the rest of its life. It nailed the coveted 18 to 34 age bracket, and that's my people, baby. That's what I work for.
That's pretty close to mine, actually. Hold on. My YouTube statistics. Oh, damn it. Where is it?
Labor Day doing Adult Swim's advertising promoting Adult Swim was not showing people why they should watch it. It was to prove to people that children shouldn't. Which is a wild way to handle this. But the explicit anti-advertising campaign actually really worked, and it kind of set the precedent for what the channel was going to be for the rest of its life. It nailed the coveted 18 to 34 age bracket, and that's my people.
Yeah, that's pretty close to my graph as well. That's pretty close.
Well, baby, that's what I work for. Advertisers still had no goddamn clue what was going on with these oddball shows, but all they knew was they wanted a piece of it, baby, because people are watching it. And Adult Swim soon expanded to multiple nights.
Laurel, there it is! That traumatizing ass show, man.
With more original programming and more anime. They're always going to put more anime in this puppy. And it also became a haven for animated shows that were canceled by their original networks. Futurama and Family Guy both were canceled by Fox, and then they found a new life on Adult Swim, which, you know, gave it enough reputation and viewership to start.
I will never forgive them for canceling Futurama, man. Never.
Start those shows back over again. And if you take nothing out of this video, please understand that the only reason why Futurama continued to go was because of Adult Swim. So that's all you gotta know about this channel and why it's so great. And the popularity of these X-Network shows brought a lot of people to the channel. And they were programmed earlier into the Adult Swim block, so like it was a buffer between children's cartoons and the weird shit that you're going to see later on. But actually, the crazy thing is the original programming that had all the crazy stuff in it, that became the main appeal of the channel, which nobody expected. You got Aqua Teen Hunger Force, which came from when the creator heard a story about how a fast food restaurant was putting together pieces of old burgers to sell to people like they were new. That's how this show started. The show.
That guy is so cooked, man. That is so cooked. I did not know that lore.
Has an anthropomorphic milkshake, a box of fries, and a wad of meat, known as Meat Wad. They live in a suburban neighborhood, they fight aliens, and they live next to a perverted piece of shit named Carl. That's the premise of the show. It was a hit almost in spite of itself. It tried so hard to make people not like it. It was thought to be such an unwatchable show that network executives said that maybe let's make them detectives. Make them detectives. People will like that more. It makes a little bit more sense. And I guess, I mean, the show really had no plot to begin with, so if you give it...
There is no sense, man. Everyone who liked the show was cooked AF. Just like the creators, man. That doesn't have to make sense.
A little something to go on, I guess they could make people watch it, but they were detectives for 3 episodes, and then they dropped that premise immediately and never went back to it.
Yeah.
Where else are you gonna find this kind of stuff besides Adult Swim? The network begged for them to change the voice of Meat Wad because no one can understand him when he talks. Literally, viewers were writing in saying, am I going—
That's the whole appeal, though. Kenny doesn't say— people couldn't understand what Kenny's saying, but that's the whole joke. Yeah, it was like the Kenny of, the Kenny of Super Hardcore Tears Force.
Going crazy, I can't understand what this guy is saying, and they refused. The writers refused to do that. The creators also insisted that the voice of Master Shake, Dana Snyder, should get absolutely hammered for his audition tape to get the role, and he did, and he got the role.
I am a modern-day Tom Sawyer.
All of this combined made Aqua Teen Hunger Force the flagship show of the channel for years to come. We have The Venture Bros, which is a really important show if you look into it a little bit. It was a parody of the 60s style superhero family shows like Johnny Quest, but after 7 seasons, it morphed into an entirely different thing altogether. Venture Bros was one of the first cartoon shows that adopted the golden age of television rules in terms of writing and plot. While other cartoon shows had short stories and very little continuity in terms of, like, you know, like The Simpsons always wear the same shirt and everything goes back to normal at the end of the episode. Venture Bros created a cast of pop culture obsessed superheroes that, like, fought generational trauma that built upon itself. But the show would
This was so powerful, even as a child, not understanding half of the reference in this. Like, my brother would watch it, and because he was on the internet, he would understand it more than me, but I still liked it for some reason. There's like a vibe to it, I think.
Constantly take the audience expectations and turn them on their head, because like one episode they would maybe cover the topic of toxic masculinity and how much that can harm somebody, and then the next episode they'll bring in Brick Frog, who's a guy who dresses up like a frog and throws bricks at people.
It looks like friggin' Big Mode by Donkey.
Brick Frog!
Thank you!
Oh. Part of the success of Venture Bros was the fact that it was only written by 2 people. There was no writer's room for this show. And that significantly slowed down the production of the show because it took 14 years to make 7 seasons, which is a bad turnaround rate, but it created a mind meld of consistent, thoroughly thought out script writing that the creators called Unibrain. Instead of a writer's room where, you know, comedy writers are fighting over who gets their joke in there and it's not really about who, you know, the characters of the plot, Venture Bros became an honest expression of a very particular type of nerdy obsessive. The exact type of person who is up at 3 a.m. and watching cartoons. So it worked out perfectly. But as much as Adult Swim nailed it with their adult cartoons, things got weirder over time. They switched the script a little bit by including live action programming to their adult cartoon block. The surreal satire of Tim and—
Nah, I didn't like that, except for, what's his name? This show was funny. I didn't get a lot of the other ones. Yeah, Eric Andre, that was it. Yes, he was funny.
Eric's awesome show, Great Job, and the Eric Andre show brought a whole new brand of anti-comedy and cringe humor to people who have never seen that shit before. The editing style and surreal sense of humor of these shows created a home for offbeat performers to experiment and turned indie comics into influential voices in mainstream comedy. Without Adult Swim, someone like Eric Andre would still be pretending to be a caveman at Geico live events. And speaking of
is that what he did, man?
About people that no one else is going to give a shot to, Adult Swim also did live action things that they like to call infomercials. They were not infomercials. These shows usually aired at 4 a.m. with no warning, no title card. They would just pretend to be commercials, or they wouldn't even pretend to be commercials. This is something I'm really passionate about. I love these things. Sometimes Adult Swim humor—
I love it when men talk passionately about things that they know a lot about. So fucking good, man. He's like, I'm sorry, I just gotta get it out.
Was the fact that there was no humor. Like, it was more about all the parts being not funny that made the whole bit hilarious. If you stumbled upon one of these infomercials at 4 a.m. and you had a little dribble of mental illness in your brain, you would wake up with grippy socks in a hospital the next morning. We have unedited footage of a bear, which starts out like, you know, an unedited footage of a bear, and then it breaks into an infomercial about anti-allergy medication and becomes a horrifying example of doppelgangers and I guess the big pharmaceutical industry. We have Too Many Cooks, which starts like a 90s comedy sitcom and then it devolves horribly. It's terrifying. And then we have There Are People in This House, which is my favorite thing I've ever seen in my entire life. If you—
What was the parody for Too Many Cooks?
Starts like a 90s—
What's that show that was on mainstream cable? Full House! That was it, thank you!
Yes, comedy sitcom, and then it devolves horribly. It's terrible.
This shit scared the shit out of me, man.
Terrifying. And then we have There Are People in This House, which is my favorite thing I've ever seen in my entire life. If you have the time, jump into the ARG if There Are People in This House. It seems like it doesn't make sense. It makes a lot of sense, and it's horrifying. Wham City Comedy made most of these, and Adult Swim is just doing stuff like this because they can, and it's still working. Like, imagine TBS doing something like this. Imagine MSNBC throwing on a horrifying bear video. They'd get shut down. Adult Swim doesn't care, though, baby. What other channel are you going to get stuff like this? You won't find it anywhere else. Adult Swim is in a league of its own.
True.
Adult Swim didn't reinvent the wheel, but they did create something wholly unique. A mainstream place where animation for adults and subversive comedy could grow. It would be impossible to accurately measure the pop culture influence that Adult Swim has had on the American public or the world.
I also think that it inspired a lot of artists that are outrageous. I can't name them off the top of my head. They do exist out there, but they're definitely a dying breed, bro. Adult Swim is just like, how many generations is like, I would say like late millennials to early stage Zoomers, or late stage Zoomers, I say. Oh my god, Juji, what the fuck, man? Why are you policing him? Stop it! Jesus. Yeah, it was generational. Yeah, Me Canyon for sure. Yeah. Adult Swim gave us Sam Hyde, yeah. Again, Andre was like a literal who, and he popped the frick off. If Adult Swim never existed, anime would have never gotten a foothold in the West. If anime didn't get a foothold, we wouldn't have VTubers. If we didn't have VTubers, Alana wouldn't exist. Alana, thank Adult Swim. Thank you, Adult Swim, for birthing me into existence. I appreciate it. It did, how do I say it? It did put a foot into the door for VTubers, so to speak, because of anime. The time slot for Inuyasha, Sailor Moon, fucking Hamtaro. Yep.
For that matter. And that's because it's bigger than the sum of its parts. You can draw parallels between Adult Swim's original programming and the biggest adult animated shows right now, like Bob's Burgers or BoJack Horseman.
Yeah, BoJack Horseman is in the same vein of, like, being really fucked up. I think they did get influenced a lot.
Or you could find parallels between the surrealist comedy of Tim Heidecker and Eric Andre into shows like I Think You Should Leave. That probably had a huge influence. There was countless writers, producers, animators that came out of Adult Swim or came into Adult Swim, which changed the landscape forever. But altogether, Adult Swim was mostly just a vibe. It was just a vibe that took America by storm. The brand exuded a feeling that anything could happen on this channel at any time. It had weird but fantastic self-referential bumpers, played insane April Fool's jokes on its viewers, and arguably brought anime into America's.
Ooh, yep, Trigun. My brother got into Trigun because of Toonami and Adult Swim. We watched the movies for it. He rented them. He showed me Ghost in the Shell, Cowboy Bebop. I think he tried to get me into Gundam, so it just didn't pick up with me. Yeah, oh, Champloo, Samurai Champloo, Bleach, of course, naturally. God, man. That was a different time, bro.
Mainstream. I want to bring that up once again. I really think Adult Swim was a big part of that. It turned TV into an art form that commented on TV itself, which no one was doing back then. It's a place where a show like Robot Chicken that was rejected by Mad TV, Saturday Night Live, and Comedy Central could end up winning how many Emmys? Two Emmy Awards. And
Robot Chicken also influenced, so there's a guy that makes stop motion, what is it called? Stop motion animation in the vein of Robot Chicken, but with VTubers. Dude, I love that guy. If I ever get a figurine done, I'd want to get him to, like, I want to commission them to, like, do a stop motion, to do something funny. Who? I don't know his name. He's really funny, though.
Most important.
Oh, it was Moonshine. Yes, correct. Thank you. Yeah, the one who did Peppa's stuff and Kirsch's stuff. Yeah. Fuck you, chat!
Importantly, to me, Adult Swim is a channel that's willing to take risks on creators who came from the internet, and no one else is able to do that. No other channel is doing that. I was raised on YouTube and Newgrounds, and watching people that I've been watching since I was a wee little tot get full shows on Adult Swim makes me want to cry. It makes me so happy. If you started on the internet, the industry as a whole probably looks down upon you and doesn't think you're a real artist. Then Adult Swim said, let's take a shot on it, and now we have Rick and Morty, we have Smiling Friends, we have Haha You Clowns, we have Crystal Fantasy, literally all the shit Jack Stauber is doing. Like, yeah, it's really important to the culture what Adult Swim is doing. Streaming has completely disrupted the entertainment industry, but Adult Swim is something that could not be put into a simple box.
Oh yeah, Newgrounds. Yeah, I completely forgot. Moongrounds was definitely a thing that spawned from this.
Now entering its third decade on television, Adult Swim is probably the most popular it ever has been, and I think I know why. Despite what everyone thinks in this industry, good art is good art. And even though it's not advertiser friendly, if you build it, they will come. And then when you have the people there, you can sell them a Trump coin at 3 a.m. or whatever the hell they run ads for on that channel. New videos every Saturday, maybe one on Wednesday.
You don't remember Newgrounds? Shut up, bitch. I was there when they had mini clips and Newgrounds and flash animations and freaking Newgrounds 18 plus where they had boobies and shit. I was there. Shut up. Do not speak to me, witch.
There's a lot in this video I wasn't able to touch on. Like, I really wanted to go into the bumpers, but like there's only so much I can say without just reading the bumpers. They're hilarious. You should look them up. Also, the art style, I don't know much about art styles, but the whole vibe of Adult Swim is fantastic. But regardless, maybe I'll talk about it later. Maybe someone else will talk about it for me. Thank you guys so much. Have a good weekend.
That was so strong, man. Yay! Thank you, Big Tongue! Thank you! Clappies. That was awesome. Yeah, spamming a little bit more. Fucking Check him out. Big Tug is cool, man. He's cool. I like his stuff. Gets that noggin jogging, you know? Check him out, chat. He's a cool content creator. How nostalgic. We love Big Tug. He can Big Tug me. Okay. Okay.